What's going on? Welcome to the 2021 edition of the Off the Schneid preview series, where I'll be going over all 32 NFL teams, breaking down their roster, schedule, giving you a record prediction, as well as helping out with some betting tips. If this is your first time on the channel, hit that subscribe button, and if you like what you hear, go ahead and smash that like button as well. Don't forget to check the description for links for the Off the Schneid social media and interact with me directly. I want to give a massive shout out to OurLads Scouting Services and OurLads.com, as all roster and depth chart graphics are straight off their site. If you've never been, go check them out immediately. I use their site for all NFL, fantasy, and betting purposes, and there's a link in the description for their site. Again, do me a huge favor and hit that like and subscribe button, but enough of that, let's get to your favorite NFL football preview. All right, we're taking a look at the Philadelphia Eagles. We will start at quarterback like we do every single time. Jalen Hurts is the guy for now. He's going to be the starter this year, obviously. I think he gives them the best chance to win this year. I don't think they're going to be a particularly good team this year, but we'll get there. The fact is that the Eagles will likely have 3 first-round picks next year. As long as Carson Wentz plays 75% of the snaps, which is pretty likely. I mean, the Eagles are absolutely hoping that he does, and it is likely that he plays 75% of the snaps for the Colts. If that happens, if and when that happens, they'll pick up another first-round pick. If he doesn't, then it'll convert to a second-round pick. They have the other one from the Dolphins in that trade that they made pre-draft. So they'll have likely 3 first-round picks next draft in 2022. That's going to put a lot of pressure, I feel like, on Jalen Hurts. As long as he progresses how he should, and if his trajectory continues the way, if you look at his stats and expand it to a 16-game, 17-game, whatever you want schedule, then it looks quite good. It's very, very, very encouraging. So if he does something, I don't think that it's going to quite get to that point because the stats are ridiculous. I don't remember exactly what they would be in a 17-game schedule, but they are ridiculous. I don't suspect that quite happens, but as long as it's close to, then I think the Eagles can turn this around really fast. If Jalen Hurts ends up being their guy, they could turn this around super, super quick. They had a pretty good draft this year, and then with 3 first-round picks next year, they're going to look pretty dangerous, I feel like. So we'll look at the backup situation. Joe Flacco is likely going to be the guy. They brought in Nick Mullins as well, but it's $3.5 million if they just cut Joe Flacco of dead cap. You're hoping your starter plays anyways, so what's the point in losing a ton of money like that when they're already up against the cap too, which is a big problem for the Eagles. That's a huge problem. And here's the thing, like, the Eagles are going to be a bad team this year. That's just what it is, and I don't think any Eagles fan can get too upset with me about saying that, and we'll see what I project for their record. But once they get through this kind of cap purgatory that they're in, and with the first round picks, if Jalen Hurts is your guy, obviously Devontae Smith is going to be a wide receiver for the future for them. There's other positions that look good. They can turn this around super, super fast as long as their defense, they use some of those picks on defense and keep that where it's already at. They have a good defense now. That's not a huge concern, but we'll get there. So Joe Flacco is most likely going to be your backup quarterback. Whatever, it's all fine and good. You're hoping he doesn't play anyways. Running backs are in a very interesting position. There's just a lot of depth, a lot of guys. They're going to have to work it out in preseason and see who makes this team. For me personally, I see Miles Sanders as the likely starter right now. And then Kenneth Gainwell. I really, really, really like Kenneth Gainwell a lot. There's a very good potential that he's better than Miles Sanders and he becomes the starter on this team and just kind of takes a stranglehold. And we'll see what happens. I mean, Miles Sanders missed a little bit of time last year with some health issue, but if he plays, this could turn into a bit of an issue with this team. We'll see how they work the running backs with the changes at with the coaching staff. I didn't really like the way Doug Peterson uses running backs. I really didn't. If you were a fantasy owner of any of the running backs in Philly, you were not happy usually with the situation. So we'll see how that changes with Nick Sirianni coming in and Shane Steichen. So realistically, I think Miles Sanders is the starter. Kenneth Gainwell might be the best back on this team and is the backup, heir apparent, maybe not even heir apparent because Miles Sanders is still very young, but you know what I mean. And then Boston Scott is still there as, you know, a depth guy, a bit of a gadget guy, change of pace type of thing. He can get the job done. Realistically, it sucks for Boston Scott because, you know, he's been working his bag off to make teams. You know, he's been cut a few times, make a team, you know, contribute, that kind of a thing. And now he's kind of getting, you know, passed over a little bit, which kind of sucks, but you know, it is what it is. It's the NFL. It's a bit of a business. So there you go. Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, Miles Sanders, and then I would guess I would go with Kerryon Johnson as the fourth. We'll see. It's really not a big deal. Whoever that fourth guy is just going to be a depth guy. So we'll see what the preseason does and how they look going into the season, who makes the final roster. Move over to tight ends. I do expect them to probably trade Zach Ertz. 7.7 million if they want to cut him in dead cap. I think it's less. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's less if they trade him. If you can get yourself even like a 4th round pick for Zach Ertz, I think you do it, you know, right now if you can, as quickly as you can, kind of a thing. Realistically, he's not going to be a piece of the future of this team. I think he would make this team better this season, but I think you're going to be a bad team either way, with or without Zach Ertz. So you might as well get some draft capital back when Dallas Goedert is your guy 100%. And again, it's tough to see how this offense runs under Shane Steichen, but I don't think it's going to absolutely necessitate 2 tight ends. And even if it does, you got Richard Rodgers there who was pretty serviceable last year. So that's what I do. I try to trade Zach Ertz, and I know they already have been trying to. So we'll see if they're able to accomplish that. Maybe their price tag was too high and maybe they need to lower it. I don't know. If I could get a 4th round pick for Zach Ertz, I would absolutely pull that trigger personally. So move over to the wide receiver spot, and you know, it's bad, but it's improving, and it's going to continue to improve, I believe. There's guys that just didn't or haven't taken that step. JJ Arcega-Whiteside, 2nd round pick a couple years ago. That's a big time bust for this team. Unless he's still young. I think he's 24 years old. He's still very young. So there's still time for him to take that step and contribute on this team. But realistically, it has to be this year. And it's going to be tough to do because John Hightower, Quez Watkins are both in there. Obviously, Travis Fulgham, Jalen Reagor, Devontae Smith. I love Devontae Smith personally. He was my wide receiver 1. I think he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver in this rookie class. Just opportunity is going to, he's going to be the number 1 option in the passing game in this offense, in my opinion. Likely even over Dallas Goedert, if I'm being honest. So I really like the potential for Devontae Smith. Jalen Reagor, I didn't love the pick last year. I thought there was a few guys that they could have taken instead of Jalen Reagor. I think they really dropped the ball there. That doesn't mean that there's not room for him to be a contributor and, you know, a wide receiver, you know, 2 in fantasy and in real life, I suppose, however you want to look at it, but a starter on this team, right? That can absolutely happen this season, and we'll see what happens. But realistically, I think you got Devontae Smith. Likely, you know, he can move around, he can play the slot, he can play outside. I think he's gonna excel in the slot. I think that's where he's going to be the most dangerous. So they probably line him up there. Jalen Reagor outside, Travis Fulgham, or one of Arcega-Whiteside, John Hightower, Quez Watkins, whoever kind of wins that battle. Preseason is going to play a pretty big role for this team in general, at the skill positions, wide receiver and running back in particular. We'll move to the offensive line, which, I mean, they allowed 65 sacks last year. That's atrocious. Like, that is absolutely atrocious. Now, I will absolutely agree with every single Eagles fan right now watching this that's saying Carson Wentz, you know, attributed to at least half of those. I'll agree with that. I'll absolutely won't argue on that. But either way, they need to get better. But I do think that they have. If I'm being honest, I don't think they're that bad. The only big problem is they're stuck in this kind of cap purgatory where these guys are hurting them more than they're helping. They still might be good players, but they're still hurting them with how much they're making. And they're going to turn it over, but I think they've done a good job of getting ready to turn that over. We'll start at left tackle. Andre Dillard was hurt all last season. Jason Peters came back to play, got a nice raise to play left tackle for this team. Jordan Mailata had a great season, a very, very good season, was a complete surprise. So realistically, the Eagles really, really lucked out with Jordan Mailata, Australian rugby player, and had a great season last year. Started, I think, 10 or 11 games, something like that. And did very well considering he didn't play this game growing up. It's very, very, very impressive. And another off season, and then moving into the season, that's an open battle. Realistically, Andre Dillard and Jordan Mailata is an open battle for the starter. It's not just going to be handed back to Dillard. Not that he's not like the front runner, because he probably is with his first round draft capital, but they're not just going to hand it back to him with the way Jordan Mailata played. So there you go. We'll see what happens there. And that's, like I said, preseason is going to play a big role with this team. It's on offense. I think defense is fine, but regardless. Move it down the line. Suimalo, he's fine, but they have some depth there, which I'll get to in a second. 3rd round pick in 2016. And then here's where they start to get older. Much older and expensive, and this is going to hurt this team. These 3 guys are going to hurt this team for this year and next year as far as the cap is concerned. We'll see what they end up doing. Jason Kelsey, he's been in the league 10 plus years. He's been a leader on this team. I think he still can probably get the job done, but realistically, again, his cap is hurting this team. Brandon Brooks, same thing. Been in the league a long time. His cap is starting to hurt this team. Lane Johnson, same thing. 1st round pick in 2013, starting to hurt this team with his cap. Now, like I said, they have started making steps to turn it over. Like every team is going to have to turn their offensive line over. It goes from being very good. The Eagles' offensive line was fantastic not too long ago, one of the best in the league. But then age catches up to them. The Bears are there right now. The Steelers are there right now, where they have to turn it over. And I like what the Eagles have done. And like I said, they got lucky with Jordan Mailata, but I like what some other things that they've done to ease that pain of the turnover. Jack Driscoll, 4th round pick last year. He's probably going to be a piece on the right side of this offensive line, whether that's right tackle or right guard. But he's probably going to be a future starter on this offensive line, I believe. Andre Dillard's fine age-wise. Jordan Mailata's okay age-wise. Landon Nickerson was a fantastic pick. He might not be quite ready, recovering from a torn ACL. Might not be quite ready to start the season, but that's okay. You have time. And then how it looks to me is you got depth with those 3 guys at basically every position available. Left tackle, Andre Dillard and Mailata. Landon Dickerson can play left guard, center, probably right guard if he had to. Jack Driscoll can play right tackle and right guard. So they have a little bit of depth there, and those are going to be the guys that help turn over this offensive line. Maybe you kick Mailata or Dillard to left guard, and then there's 4 of your future, starting 5 of your offensive line right there. So they've done a good job, and they got lucky with Jordan Mailata. So there's your offense. Like I said, it's hard to see how this offense is going to operate. I'm really interested. I'm really, really interested to see how it operates. That's all I have to say. I'm not really sure. I'm not going to say that they're going to run like the Colts did last year. I think there'll be shades of it for sure, but realistically, the team is a bunch different. This team is a bunch different as far as personnel. So I don't know. We'll see. The Eagles are a team to watch. They might not win a lot of games, but they're going to be a fun team to watch, I feel like. So we'll see. So there you go. There's the offense. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball, which is still very good. It's still absolutely the strength of this team and has been for years. They were third in the NFL in sacks last year, and I think that they're right there. And again, like I've kind of been saying, they have been drafting well. So I don't think, you know, like I think general manager has done a good job. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Their general manager has done a great job of planning for the future and trying to stay ahead of the game here, stay ahead of the 8 ball. Realistically, yeah, they're hurt by the cap, but you won a Super Bowl. So you mortgage your future to win a Super Bowl. You're going to do that. Every team in the NFL is going to do that. So the only thing is now they got to get creative with their cap situation. So we'll see what they end up doing. But Derek Barnett, obviously first round pick 2017, very, very good player. He's going to be the you know, Brandon Graham of the future of this team. He kind of is of the present, but he's going to be of the future as well. Javon Hargrave is still young enough. I think he's 28 years old. He's still young enough. He'll be around for a bit. Fletcher Cox is starting to get up there. He's another guy that's going to affect them cap wise. He's absolutely still one of the best interior rushers in the game, one of the best football players in the game realistically. 30 years old, so you know he's definitely still got a couple. I don't think they're going to re-sign him at the end of the day. Like I think he's got what two or three more years on his deal, something like that off the top of my head. So I think he probably just let his contract run out. We'll see what happens there. Brandon Graham's been in the league a long time. He can still get the job done. So I mean, you're not just going to move on from guys that are going to continue to get the job done, but you do have to start turning it over. Which they have started doing. Like I said, Josh Sweat is there, 4th round pick in 2018. He's obviously still there. Very good player, very good contributor. This defensive line is pretty stacked, actually. It's just, I don't know. It's hard to say how they start to respond, you know, getting older. Brandon Graham's like 33. He'll be 34 at the end of this year. It's not going to last forever. Father Time is undefeated and it waits for nobody. So we'll see. Milton Williams, I love a lot. I really, really, really like a lot. He may be getting set up for failure a little bit. A lot of people are comparing him to Aaron Donald. That's dangerous, man. And that's not, you know, exactly great for this kid's future, you know, mentality wise. Like you can't compare a kid to Aaron Donald. That's just not the way to go about it. But we'll see. He's going to be a very good player on this team, but I just think that's dangerous. And he's going to learn from Hargrave and Fletcher Cox. That's a great mentorship right there for him. Linebackers are in a good spot. Davian Taylor I really liked last year. Sean Bradley was okay last year in the draft. Alex Singleton, former Calgary Stampeder, shout out. He looked great last year. TJ Edwards as well. Jernard Avery, they're fine there. They're just fine. Eric Wilson comes in as well. They're just fine at the linebacker spot for me. I'm not concerned about that at all. The back end is where it starts to get tough. Darius Slay's obviously still there. He's 30 years old though. Avonte Maddox, I don't think is, you know, the guy. I think they're going to struggle against the pass. Even, you know, Rodney McLeod's still there, but he's getting older. Jalen Mills is gone. Zach McPherson comes in the 4th round. That's okay. But realistically, and they made a trade for Josiah Scott. I can't remember what they traded for him, but they brought him in as well. He might be a contributor, but either way, I think they're just going to pick away at it. You're going to have to address the back end of this defense in next year's draft, I think. And I think that's going to be their weakness is getting thrown on. You know, I think they're okay against the run, more than okay against the run, but getting passed on is going to be tough for this team. So there you go. That went a little longer than I thought, but there's a lot to chew on with this team, this roster, this depth chart. There's a lot to chew on. I didn't even talk about Ryan Kerrigan coming in from division rival. So there you go. There's a lot to chew on with this team and roster. And realistically, like if I'm an Eagles fan, I say this in a few, like don't take offense to what I'm saying in the next screen here because you got a lot of pieces and they're still a good team. So we'll see what happens, but let's move over and take a look at their record prediction in 2021. All right, so there you go. Eagles fans are gonna be all over me this on this one, I feel like. But realistically, it's okay to be a bad team. I've said it on a few of these. It's okay to be a bad team, especially with 3 first-round picks next year. You want at least one of those to be very, very high, top 5, top 8 at least. So we'll see what happens, and it's not going to be the Colts and the Dolphins. So it's got to be your pick, right? Not that you're going to like plan to lose games, but I just think that they're gonna struggle. They're going to be a fun team to watch. They're going to be in some games. They're just not going to be able to keep up in like shootouts. And, I just think the better team is going to beat this team every time. And I don't think that they're the better team in many games. 5.5 to 1 on your money for them to win the division. I'm not touching it. I think it's very much Cowboys, Washington football team, and then the Giants, I feel like, in that order, and then the Eagles, obviously. So we'll see. So I know I'm going to catch some heat. On the high side, 7 games. This team won 4 games, I think, last year. So 7 on the high side. If Jalen Hurts absolutely goes nuts, and he absolutely is your guy, and Devontae Smith is amazing, and Gainwell and Sanders are awesome, and their offensive line keeps it together. They could scrape, start pushing 500, but I don't even think this team is a 500 football team personally. So we'll start in week 1 against Atlanta, at Atlanta, home team. They're very used to playing shootouts. They can throw the ball. I think the Eagles are going to have a tough time stopping the pass. I think there's a very, very good potential that they start 0-1 there and lose to the Falcons on the road. If this were in Philadelphia, I'd give them a better shot to win that game. Absolutely. That's a team that's very comparable, as far as like where they're at. Go watch the Falcons episode if you want to see what I project for them. But I think that's a tough game for the Eagles to win on the road in week 1. Then they come home and play the 49ers. I think the 49ers are just head and shoulders a better team, and they can come in and get that win. On the road against Dallas, I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to sweep the Eagles this year. So they go to AT&T Stadium and they do not come out with a victory. At home against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'll get to it in a second, but at home against the Kansas City Chiefs, there's no chance that this team beats the Chiefs. On the road against the Carolina Panthers, that's a game that I would, again, like the Eagles potentially to win if it were at home. On the road, I think that the Carolina Panthers can get that win. That's still like I'll get to in a second, but after the Buccaneers here, even on a short week on the road, the Bucs are coming into Philly and getting that win. So all the games that they play at home, look at these: San Francisco 49ers, Kansas City Chiefs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are their first 3 home games. They're not beating any of those teams. Like, they're just not. So, and then on the road, they're playing winnable games on the road. Carolina Panthers, Atlanta Falcons, Las Vegas Raiders. But again, they're on the road, and I give home teams a bit of an edge this year. I can't with the Eagles, basically, is what I'm getting at, right? So there you go. Let's on the road against Vegas, that's going to be a loud stadium. That realistically, this is the first year in that stadium with fans. So, and the Raiders aren't a horrible team. They're not, realistically, if this were in Philly, like I said, I'd give them a chance to win it. But there you go. On the road against Detroit, that's a winnable game. That's a game that I think that they could absolutely get the win. That's a toss-up game. Again, on the road, though. Like, if it were in Philly, I give Philly the win for sure. But on the road, I don't know. I mean, realistically, Detroit's strength is going to be running the ball, and Philly's strength on defense is going to be stopping the run, in my opinion. So I think that that's a winnable game for the Eagles. But realistically, by that Detroit game, after that Detroit game, they might have 2 wins tops. You know what I'm saying? At home against the Chargers, I just think that the Chargers are a much better team, and they're absolutely going to be able to throw the ball against this defense. So I think the Chargers can come in and get that win. On the road against Denver, that defense is very good. And again, on the road, they're not going to be able to beat the Denver Broncos in Denver, in my opinion. At home against the Saints, that's a potential game that they can win. I don't think that the Saints are a very, very good team this year. I really think that they're going to struggle and take a bit of a step back. On the road in Philly, I think that Philadelphia, they have a shot. Like, Philadelphia has a shot to win that game for sure. I'm not gonna give that win to New Orleans like I would have last year. But we'll see. So there you go. There's potentially their third win. On the road against New York Giants, I do not think they get that win on the road. They have a better shot against the Giants at home, but I think there's a potential they get swept by everybody this year, if I'm being honest. I just think that, defensively, I think the Giants are comparable to this team. And with the amount of weapons that they have and Saquon Barkley coming back, I think that they're going to be able to win more games, obviously, definitely than the Eagles. So there you go. At New York Jets, that's another winnable game. But again, on the road, like it's a really crappy schedule for the Eagles, in my opinion. It's really not fun. Like they're out of division home games, 49ers, Chiefs, Bucks, Chargers, Saints, like all those teams are probably playoffs teams this year, except for the Saints, in my opinion. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough schedule. And then 4 games, 5 of their last 6 are division games to finish the season. That's tough. That's not easy stuff. So realistically, they're dealt a pretty crappy hand, in my opinion. Bye week 14, if I'm the Eagles, I want an earlier bye week just because you got a young quarterback, you got a lot of young players on offense. I'd probably rather an earlier bye week, but it doesn't really matter for this team, in my opinion, obviously with the record I'm projecting. I think that the Washington football team sweeps them. I think the Giants probably do, even at home, and then the Cowboys do pretty much for sure. So that's a tough stretch. That's a tough stretch to end the season there. Realistically, they're all division games. You got to think they might get 1 or 2. So I might have been tough on them, but realistically, like, what am I going to project? 5-12? And then would you be happy with me? No. So what's the difference? Like, realistically, I think I could have been a little more generous. I could have been, but I got the high side, 10-7 or 7-10. Sorry. So there you go. That's like, if everything goes right, there's still going to be a bad team. And if if I'm an Eagles fan, I'd much rather be 3-14 than 7-10. 100%. There's no point. There's really no point. Especially if Jalen Hurts is your guy, then you want to still be a bad team, because then you're going to have a higher, top 5, top 8 draft pick where you can maybe get another receiver, a difference maker on defense, top level corner, something like that, right? Like, you don't want to be picking, 12th, 18th, and 24th. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be doing that realistically. I mean, that's good, but you get what I'm saying. And if you don't, leave a hateful comment, which I'm sure I'll get anyway. So there you go. There's your breakdown. Let me know what you think in the comments. There's your breakdown, record prediction, roster, walkthrough, depth chart, everything you need to know to get you ready for the 2021 season for the Philadelphia Eagles.